This is, did my top 5 worries come true in Wrath Classic? I guess we'll find out. It's been out for what, like a month and a half, 2 months now almost? About a month and a half, close to it. I don't know, like all my time's been a blur since this came out.
Talking about some of the things I'm quite worried about when it comes to the Wrath of the Lich King release. And today we're going to look back at that video and review whether they actually came true or not. Remember guys, this is just the opinions of some random nerd on the internet, really isn't gonna hurt anyone and you shouldn't take it too seriously. Many different MMO players have different opinions, and that's what makes MMOs so interesting and fun to play, the diversity of different people that you end up playing the game with and having discussions with. By the way guys, I just recently made a
That's true. I mean, that's very true. The best thing that has happened since I started playing Wrath again has definitely been the need to actually communicate with people. Um, and that's just not something I've experienced in a very long time on retail. But then again, like I play retail, I played retail almost entirely solo since uh, I raided in Cataclysm. I skipped Pandaria. I came back from WOD. Draenor, Warlords of Draenor is really like when I started playing this game completely solo because there just wasn't a whole lot of need in, being active in any kind of community.
cheeky gold making guide where you can make 500 gold per day very easily in a very short space of time by just doing very simple auction house flips.
I'm not going to knock this guy or anything. MetaGoblin, I'm going to subscribe to you. I don't know who you are. I've never seen any of your videos before, but you can get like 500 gold just doing your dailies. I guess if this is 500 gold on top of that, getting 1,000 gold a day, that'd be great. Getting 500 gold a day isn't particularly difficult, but I will check that out later. Auction house flips. Auction house flips are fairly obvious if you go on there and just look at what people are using. Like if you know what your raid is using, chances are other raids are using that stuff too. And if those things are cheaper, just buy them and resell them. That's what I've been doing. Like I've been making fish feast for our guild, for my guild, our guild, uh, and they're like 5 gold a piece, give or take. And I see them on there all the time for 1 gold, 2 gold. I buy them and I repost them for 5, or I just buy them and use them. But that's a very small microcosm of an example. I do the same thing. I do tailoring and enchanting on this character. So like any enchants that I find that are cheap, that I wouldn't sell them for that cheap, I'll buy them and flip them. I mean, auction house flipping isn't that difficult, but I digress.
Now if you want to check that out, all you have to do is subscribe to the channel and the video will be on my channel page. But anyway, let's move on. So my first concern in this video was gear score. And gear score, rather unfortunately, has returned with a vengeance. Or even at a point where the community is defending gear score, which I find genuinely confusing. But that really is just the community these days. I mean, they even defend bots and GDKPs.
I'm gonna stop you right there. I don't know anybody defending bots. I don't know of anybody defending bots, so that's a new one on me. Um, I can't really think of a good reason why anybody would defend bots. GDKPs, uh, I'm kind of either way on. Like, yeah, I guess if you have more gold than sense, it's not a bad way to go, but in some instances it can promote um, gold buying, which I definitely can't get behind. But I mean, if you've got the gold and that's what you want to do, that's on you. But it does seem to kind of encourage buying gold, and I'm not really into that. Um, what was his main point again?
So, you know. Gear score.
Gear score. Gear score. I play on a smaller server. I started playing on Maladath, the fresh start server, And this has not been an issue, like at all. It it probably is a bigger deal on the bigger servers. I'll give you that. It's probably a bigger deal on servers that have been around longer. This is a fresh start server. It's a brand new server, is my understanding. But this has not come up at all yet, and it might in the future. I don't know. Maybe phase two, phase three, it might start becoming a thing. But so far, it hasn't been a thing. And the people I've played with and the people I've found on here have been very accepting of people that, one, are fresher to the game, and two, um, don't necessarily have the best gear, because realistically, nobody on this server has the best gear yet. Unless you've been just plowing through knacks or you've paid somebody on overgear to autopilot your character. Like, nobody has the best gear on this server for the most part. So that hasn't really come up at all. What I have seen is, do you know the content and can you play your character? And that's the two most important things to me and most people. So, like, I can see where you're coming from because I have experienced this in the past. And I'm not saying it doesn't happen on other servers. I'm just saying I haven't seen it on my server yet.
Is just a plague that needs to be vaccinated out of the World of Warcraft population.
Oh shit.
And GDKPs, so you know. Gear score is just a plague that needs to be vaccinated out of the World of Warcraft population. It deters new players from gaining access to endgame content, because if a pug is asking for a gear score requirement, don't know why I said it in such a weird accent then, a gear score requirement only obtainable from doing the raid itself before you apply for the group, then how do you even get into the group? Now, this may not be...
Yeah, I've experienced this before. This has happened to me on retail. It happened when I started raiding in Cataclysm. It happened. It happens. It just flat out happens. And you can argue that this was fixed a little after Raid Finder and Group Finder became a thing. But then you just had people that didn't know how to play. So, I have a feeling I know where he's going with this. Where people are buying boosted characters, they're going on overgear, and having somebody autopilot their character to the point where they have the best gear, and then they come on and have no idea how to play their character, and that's not good for anybody. I see where you're coming from there. If that's your point, I understand. Um, Gear scoring, I don't think is that big of a deal because I'm not playing on a huge server and I'm playing on a fresh start server, so it's not really a big deal yet. GDKPs, I don't really care. If that's your thing, that's your thing. It doesn't matter to me one way or another. Unless you're swiping your credit card for gold and then buying the gear, that's stupid. I don't know why you would do that. The raids are not hard. Finding a guild to raid with is not hard, at least on my server. Like, I have to keep saying that because I'm speaking from the perspective of my server. So, it's hard to say. But I've definitely seen that happen. I don't want it to happen here, but I know it probably will happen.
So much the case right now, but I guarantee you it will get worse.
Probably.
Now, there's going to be one guy in the comment section about to say, just join a guild. Yeah, but not everyone has the time to commit to a guild schedule.
Yeah, that is pretty much exactly what I just said. Just join a guild. And I understand most people don't have time to join a guild. I understand, I've got real world responsibilities as well. I own a business in the real world. I have a lot of free time right now because my business is 3 months or 3 seasons out of the year, and then I'm kind of fucked off on winter. But, it is what it is. I'm going to pause this video. We're going to run Violet Hold real quick. And we'll finish this up in a second.
Prefer to just play the game more casually, join a guild as a social, and then pug it now and again. Or join organised pugs and things like that when I can. But if all these pugs are asking for a gear score requirement, then you're not going to be able to get into groups in the first place.
Yeah, I should just pause it right there while we do Violet Hold. He's right. It does become a barrier to entry. Like, if you're a fresh 80 and you need to start doing heroics and people start asking for like you have to be 213 item level, meaning you have full Nax gear, um, you're screwed. You're not going to get anywhere. I've been in that situation. I've seen that happen. It's happened to me. It sucks. Luckily, the server I'm on, and I have to, just say that this is my perspective from the server I play on. It hasn't become an issue yet. I don't know why people don't like Violet Hold. It's right here in Dalaran. It's really easy. The pace is kind of slow, and you get a lot of RNG from which bosses you're gonna fight. But it's not a hard dungeon, and you might as well just do it. It's better than Oculus. I would take 100 Violet Holds over any Oculus any day. I don't know why I couldn't power shift out of that. Oh, they're already dead. I wasted a Starfall. Fuck it. Doesn't matter. Easy peasy. Think this one's a boss. Yeah. Which one? The water guy. Icaron. Icaron. This guy hates this turd. Pretty sure this guy says the exact same thing every time. Every time he pops back up. Yep. Every time. What's the deal? Are we just damaging this dude so fast that we can't even like do the whole phase? I got some meat. Look at me, I'm sparkly. I'm a sparkly chicken. Man, once you start getting some raid gear, these chicken boys pop off on AoE. And sometimes even single target, but you don't really play Boomkin for the single target. You play it to like melt the trash mobs. And it's so satisfying. Four, three, two, one. 10K, broke 10K, alright. I'm tickling 10K DPS. And that's just the food buff and being in a group. I can do like 11 or 12 after my flask and everything. On a good pull. At the moment, I don't know. I don't know much about game balancing. I'm not going to pretend that I do, and I know even less about MMO balancing. But the top DPS that I've seen in every group have been approximately the same gear item level. Pretty close. So I don't think the balancing right now is too far out of whack. I don't know why I even look. I don't think there's really anything from a heroic I can get that's an upgrade. Did I get that? Haha. DE? That's a dream shard. Heck yeah. That's just a portal keeper. That's only one target. I didn't need to starfall it. But it did. Just means I'll have to use 2 hurricanes on the next squad pool. Easy peasy. Come on, 10K, 10K. Oh, I saw it for a second. Nice.
Defense, but this city must be razed. I will fulfill Malagos's wishes myself.
Whatever you say, Samagosa.
3, 2, 1.
We finish this now, champions of the Kirin Tor.
You ain't shit. You're a 5-man dungeon boss. Better get that innervate. Good God. Screw it, I'm just not going to move. She can't really target me in here anyway. Oh, never mind, I was wrong. Don't need that. Don't need that. GGTY. Shards, you say? Ah, lost. I rolled a 33, I lost to a 78. Alright, that was a good group. That wasn't bad at all. Let's get back to that video.
Sometimes you do miss your guild raid night due to IRL reasons, and then you have to pug the raid instead, but you can't, because you don't have enough gear score. Because some absolute donkey is requiring you to have 4k gear score for a NAC 25-man run. And at the end of the day, if you really want to be careful on who you invite to a group, there's this website that has existed for many years called Warcraft Logs, and you can just inspect people. And everyone lies about their gear score anyway, like, how can you be absolutely sure when someone says their gear score is a certain amount that it actually is that amount? It's basically just the most pointless thing in World of Warcraft.
It's actually very easy to verify somebody's gear score. You can use an add-on. I use Taco Tip. Like, let's see, is that a hunter? Yeah, there's a Night Elf hunter right in front of me. He's level 80. You see that? His gear score is 4185. It's not that hard to verify. He's not even in my group. He's not in my party. All I have to do is put my tooltip on him. He's got a 4K gear score. He's going to get invited to the next 25. I guarantee it. That actually reminds me, I need to install Warcraft logs. I don't really have to. Nobody's making me. The guild we're merging with might make me, but I'm just kind of curious where I fall on some things. But yeah, verifying gear score is trivial. Will people lie about their gear score? Yes, but you can verify it and you can kick them if that's what you're apt to do. No, like me and my guild were running Nax 25 with 187, 200, between 187 and 200 gear score. I mean, together we all farmed heroics and we got our pre-bis. Like we farmed out our pre-bis before we ever went into Nax 25 or Nax 10 even. I know that's not possible for a lot of people and I understand that, but you know, at the same time, it's not that hard to do heroics. Unless you're on my server right now where basically everybody's just raid logging and nobody's really doing groups anymore. Then yeah, that's why I started watching YouTube on stream, is because I'm just sitting here waiting for groups. Which actually, there's a lot. Oh, no. Those are old. You see, that's how many. That's how many. There's nothing but a wall of DPS waiting their turn to do Gundrak. But I'm going to bypass that line because I'm just going to ask if I can go. And most of the time I do get an invite. The only time I don't get invited or accepted is, you know, if they're holding a spot for a guildie or something, that's fine. But yeah, I completely understand a lot of people don't have time to farm heroics to get their pre-raid bis. We didn't even have to do that. We just did it because it would make things easier in the long haul. But like, I'm sitting at 205. I started raiding at 187, and I'm completely locked out. So I don't think it's that hard to find raids. I don't think it's that hard to find groups. I have to keep saying this, but this is from my server's perspective. I'm playing on Maladath. It's a fresh start server. A lot of people are not geared yet. Several are, but a lot are not. And a lot of people are already getting raid locked and just fucking off. So it's harder to find groups. And from that perspective, it's harder to find groups because I'm on a smaller server and people are raid logging. But gear score has not been an issue for us. Eye level has not been an issue for us. Maybe I'm talking out of my ass because I've maintained a fairly high gear score. I'm almost at the 4K mark. But it just hasn't been an issue yet. And I hope it doesn't become an issue. It very well could in the future, but this server seems like it's full of pretty laid back people. I've only had issues with a couple, and I'm fairly certain they got permabanned, so it's not even an issue.
If I wanted to make a Giga Chad group, I'd just be checking people on Warcraft logs and inspecting them to make sure they definitely have all the gear that is coming up on Warcraft logs.
Yeah.
It's that simple. And then you can make the distinction that, yeah, this guy has worse gear than many other people in the raid, but he has much better logs, so he's probably going to pull his weight. And then you'll be able to make a group of actual good players which are actually going to pull their weight and get the raid done, rather than just geared players. Because these days, people can just get geared by swiping their credit card and going to a GDKP. So you may think that, yeah, gear score is a good thing, because it means that you're always bringing geared people to a group, but...
Yeah, and that's 100% true. Of course, buying gold violates Blizzard's TOS. We all know that. But the thing is that they don't really enforce it, so it's not really... Is it really against the rules if nobody's getting punished? And there's a very, very blossoming industry coming out of this? No. I'm not going to buy gold, but I have time to kill. And I have more time than money at the moment. So I'm not going to swipe my credit card for these things. I'll just grind it while I have the free time. Like I said, I own a business in the real world, and I work 3 seasons out of the year, and I fuck off during the winter. So I have the time to kill. I understand if you don't. It's rough out there, but like I guess I got sidetracked, but my point here is I have had boosted characters. Like I've I've bought the premium editions of the game. I've gotten a couple of boosted characters, and I log on to them and I start trying to play them. And you know what happens? I have no idea how to play them. I'll get a, let's say like back in WOD, what was the level cap in WOD? Like level 100 or something? Let's see. Vanilla 60, TBC 70, Wrath 80, Kata 90, Pandas 100, WOD 110. So WOD was 110. So let's say I came into WOD, I bought a boosted character, I leveled it, I got thrown into the game at level 100. Let's say I'd been playing Priest that entire time. So let's say I boosted a Paladin, and then I try to go tank. Well, guess what? I'm not going to have any idea how to do that. I'm going to piss off everybody that I'm playing with, and I'm going to piss myself off because I'm not doing well. And guess what? I never got a single level up on that character. It's been sitting there not doing anything the entire time because I suck at tanking. I suck at playing Paladin. I'm just not going to do it. Uh, I, I've predominantly played a healer. Predominantly I've played DPS, but I can heal. I don't particularly like healing on my druid, uh, because I just don't like the hot healing playstyle. I can do it. I will do it. I don't find it that enjoyable. So I try to avoid it, and I will usually lie to people and tell them that I don't have any MP5, so that any MP5 gear, so I don't have to do it. I actually don't have any MP5 gear at the moment. I don't think I might on my next tier on my tier chest. Whenever I get my tier chest, I think it does have some MP5 on it. But I don't know. I don't remember. I don't care. Um, but yeah, I see where he's coming from. You buy your gear, and you you never have the leveling experience that teaches you how to play your class. That is the entire point of leveling. Yeah, leveling takes a long time in Wrath. I understand. It takes way too long. Uh, what's my played time on this character? Slash played. I have 19 days and 18 hours on this character, and 7 of them have been at level 80. So that's 12 days that it took me to level up. That sucks. That does take a while. I'm sorry, I got a little bit bummed out somebody left our guild. But you know, 12 days is a long time to level a character. I don't want to do it. I don't want to do it again. A lot of people don't want to do it, and I understand. But if you don't do it, you never learn how to play your character. And leveling does have the benefit of having a gradual build up in power to where you can understand how to play your character by the time you get to end game where things start to matter. Um, that's kind of my beef with hero classes too, like Death Knight and Demon Hunter, I guess. It doesn't really matter now in retail anymore, but like coming into level 58 as a DK, you only have about what 5 levels to learn how to play a DK before you start tanking. You need a little bit more time than that. Um, but it is what it is.
Probably going to end up a worse thing. Overall, it's a bad thing for people who are gearing up their alts, and very bad for new players, which is a very bad thing for Classic WoW because we want a steady flow of new players throughout the expansion. And the community is literally discouraging people from playing the game. Now, this is a genuine community-made issue. Blizzard isn't making this issue. You could argue that they are by not having average item level in the game, but you get my point. Next, let's talk about Wintergraph. So when I wrote the script, I think I laughed out loud for about 30 seconds long
I'm just going to preface this by saying I have yet to play a Wintergrasp in Wrath. I did it in like original Wrath. I did it back then. I haven't done it on Classic, not once. And that's mostly because I'm playing Horde on this server, and this is a Horde heavy server, and we just always have it. So I don't really worry about it. It's not really a big deal to me. And I don't generally PvP. PvP is not my thing. I understand it is fun for a lot of people. I understand it's in game for a lot of people. I see the appeal in it. It's just not for me. I'm a dungeon crawler. I'm a PvE kind of guy. I don't PvP much. I will occasionally get the itch to do it, but that usually goes away pretty quickly. So whatever issue there is with Wintergrasp, I probably don't care about. I'm just going to be honest.
When I came to this section, because Wintergrasp is just such a joke. OG Wintergrasp was a server PvP event, a real MMO social feature in the game where the server actually had to bond together in order to unlock the VOA, in order to unlock boons and loot. It's great MMO design. But Blizzard didn't release it in its original state because then they would have to admit that they've done a real piss-poor job at balancing servers for the past 3 years. If the servers were balanced, Wintergrasp could have released properly in the way it was meant to be. I mean, the servers don't need to be balanced. They just have to have a healthy population on both factions. I used to play in a Wrath of the Lich King server back in the day with a Horde-dominant population, but we'd always lose Wintergrasp because the Alliance were just simply better. There was some proper faction rivalry in the game on that server, which is a great social element that every MMO should have. But with Wintergrasp, the way it is now, the opposite faction on your server, it basically may as well be non-existent. They're totally invisible. Now all PvP is instance-based and cross-server. So the last time we ever got to see any interesting faction interactions was with Classic WoW and the world buff griefing chaos that ensued. Personally, I think it's a shame, but I do understand that a lot of people really just don't care about this stuff. Now, my third concern was that there'd be too many Death Knights. Now, this...
Okay, before we get into the Death Knight thing, because that's a whole different thing. You know, Wintergrasp doesn't really apply to me very much because I'm not a PvP guy. I'm not going out of my way to do it. I don't care that much. I don't think... Because I've seen a similar situation that he was talking about where I've played on servers that were heavily skewed to one side, but the other side would always win. And Wintergrasp, at least, because you can actually sit here and see who holds Wintergrasp and for how long. We currently don't have it, and I don't know if it's going on right now, or if we lost it. I would actually be shocked if we lost it because we've had it up like 95% of the time, easy. But yeah, PvP is not my thing. It's not something I really care about. It's not something I go out of my way to do. So I don't have a lot of perspective on that side of the game. I will say that, you know, even if, like, let's say your server's heavy Horde, there's still always the possibility that the Alliance could be more PvP focused and tend to win these things. So it doesn't really matter either way. I don't have a whole lot to say on this topic because it's not something that really applies to me. So let's keep going.
Depends on who you ask, and it's also different server to server. Talk about my experience. So on my server, obviously I do play a Death Knight. It is basically impossible to get a VOA group as a DPS Death Knight. I can normally only get one as a tank. And the same usually goes for 10-man pugs. Yeah, there is a lot of Death Knights. In my guild, I think we have about 6 Death Knights. But then my friend's guild, who I sometimes pug with, they really struggle to get Death Knights. So most of the time when I join their raid group, I'm actually the only Death Knight.
Well, I mean, of course there's going to be a lot of Death Knights. Everybody gets one. You would be a moron to not take up the... When leveling takes 12 days... It took me 12 days. It could take you less. It could take you more. But at this current state, like Wrath of the Lich King, you would be a fool not to take advantage of having a free level 50. You're level 58 by the time you get out of the starting zone, give or take. So you'd be dumb not to take advantage of that. And you would be even dumber to not go tanking if you can pull off tanking. But DPS Death Knights, I can kind of see there not being a big draw for them. Um, as a plate guy, you're kind of unless you're like a holy paladin or something, you're kind of obligated to be the tank. Um, but yeah, I could see there being an issue for DPS Death Knights. I don't see them very often. I'm sure they have their niche, but I don't really see them that often. Um, and yeah, of course, there's going to be a ton of Death Knights. You get a free level 55 character just for playing the game. I mean, you'd be dumb not to take advantage of your Death Knight and use it for something. And if you're going to level it to 80, you're probably going to use it in dungeons and raids too, because why wouldn't you? And if you're going to level it to 80 and play it in dungeons and raids, because why wouldn't you? Then why wouldn't you just be a tank? If you can pull off being a tank. And I know tanking's not easy for everybody. I suck at it. I'm gonna give it my best shot to learn how to tank in this expansion. I'm gonna do my best. I'm gonna try. I haven't really found a class that I mesh with yet. I don't want to do another druid, and I don't want to get tanking gear for this druid. I'm gonna off spec healer on this druid. Um, I don't really mesh with paladin. I like warrior. Uh, I like warrior. If I had to start from level one, I would probably just do a warrior. But I want to give my Death Knight a chance to see how I tank on it, and I will be one of the way too many Death Knights that already exist. Uh, but I mean, Death Knights are pretty good at what they do, so it's hard to say, screw Death Knights, there's too many. I mean, more tanks is more tanks, and more tanks means more groups, and more groups means more loot. So just run with it, just roll with it.
I get a lot of messages, my Twitch chat saying, how on earth are you the only Death Knight in that raid group? Because that is a fairly rare sight. So it is a bit of an issue for a Death Knight to pick up a casual pug right now. But because you can very easily stack multiple Death Knights in your raid due to how powerful they are, it's not been that much of an issue for me when it, obviously in my guild. But I haven't been guildless for a while, so you guys tell me in the comment section, if any guildless Death Knights out there, has it been hard for you to find a guild as a Death Knight? Fourth concern was Lagadan. A laggy, unplayable Dalaran where the game is just stuttering along like it has been on private servers, because private servers aren't layered, so you have thousands of people sitting around Dalaran. Well, at first I thought Dalaran was laggy, and I thought Blizzard had messed up, but then I realised for some reason the add-on item rack and Questy were lagging my game a lot.
I have Questy. It's not really lagging for me at all. And I even use it stacked with I use Questy and what's the other one? Codex. I use them both at the same time, and I flip back and forth depending on which one's more accurate for whatever I'm doing. But Dalaran has been buttery smooth. Like I have like a 30 millisecond ping. I played a flat 60 FPS with G-Sync turned on, so I haven't experienced any lag in Dalaran. As a matter of fact, I'm gonna be honest with you. The only time I have seen this game lag at all was when my AIO water cooler failed and my CPU was running 100C at 1 gigahertz. 100 degrees Celsius at 1 gigahertz. That's the only time this game has lagged. I have a 10900K and my AIO failed and it was thermal throttling itself at 100 degrees Celsius and it was only doing 1 gigahertz and this game would not run past 10 FPS. And that's the only time I've had an issue. As a matter of fact, it was still playable. It just sucked.
When I disabled that, yeah, Dalaran is actually totally fine. Blizzard have actually nailed it pretty well, surprisingly. In fact, every time I get an invite when I'm chilling in Dalaran, I end up layer hopping, so there must be a lot of layers in Dalaran to prevent those lag issues. My fourth concern we can only talk about in a speculative manner, because the thing I was concerned about is the long wait for Ulduar. I have no idea when Ulduar is going to turn up, but my prediction will be at least a month after Dragonblight, which would be quite a long wait for Ulduar to turn up. Private servers normally get Phase 1 done in about 2 months because the raids are very easy, we've already done them before in Classic, so it's nothing new. It's not enough to keep people invested and interested in the game. You know, people get burned out of Phase 1 very, very quickly, and many people already are.
If Ulduar is coming a month after Dragonflight, which would be January, that's not great. That gives you plenty of time to level up a couple of characters and get Nax, OS, Eye of Eternity, all those done. Which is fine. You know, having a little extra time to do these things is cool. But that is quite a long way to wait. That does kind of suck.
Let's be honest. But honestly, I think the bigger concern could be Dragonblight. I mean, it's early days and it's Blizzard we're talking about here, but it does look like a fairly good expansion, and they've introduced a number of good features to encourage players to return to the game, or to swap from Wrath of Lich King Classic when they can't be bothered waiting for Ulduar to turn up. Like, for instance, the experience buff and character boosts and just giving everyone Shadowlands for free. And I think, didn't everyone get a... You probably have to correct me on this in the comment section. I'm pretty sure everyone got a character boost for free also. Or less that is just Blizzard being nice to me, which it probably isn't. I mean, if you look at surveys done, at least a quarter of current Wrath of Lich King players will go and play Dragonblight, but obviously whether they make it their main game instead of playing Wrath of Lich King is debatable. I think the combined threat of Dragonblight and having to wait another 2 months probably for Ulduar could result in a bigger drop-off of players than we expected, but then again, you know, it is early days. Wrath of Lich King Classic does have a strong player base, much larger than I actually thought it would be.
If we have to wait until January for Ulduar, I think we'll be fine. That's not a big deal. If we have to wait 2 months after Dragonflight, that could be a problem. We probably would see some people fall off, like a lot. Oh wow, okay, we're going for an achievement run here.
Most people have raided in Wrath of Lich King.
I think that's true. I think most people probably have raided. They know the content. Yeah, this is not the most difficult expansion. It might have been at the time, but it certainly is not now. So yeah, I totally believe most people have raided. If I've raided, I assume most everybody has raided. Because I'm pretty much a filthy casual, but I've been playing this game a lot.
They are thoroughly enjoying it, and you can see that by the numbers, because now there's more Warcraft logs for Phase 1 in Wrath of Lich King than there was in the most recent raid of Shadowlands. This doesn't mean that more people are...
I believe that 100%. Shadowlands has had a lot of people fall off before they got to the raid content. I didn't play the raid content in Shadowlands. I did LFR, and I was pretty much done with it. I never cared about Shadowlands after release. I wanted to play Torghast. I had high expectations for Torghast, and we all know how that went. I didn't want to go in the mall. I didn't want to level more characters. I didn't want to do anything in Shadowlands after I was, you know, I had seen the lore and I was done with it.
Are playing Wrath Classic than retail, because there's a lot of other stuff to do on retail than doing raids. And anyway, it's impossible to get an accurate answer unless you literally work for Blizzard. But nonetheless, it is a big player base, and if you look at the success of Wrath of Lich King Classic private servers, it very likely will maintain a strong player base for the whole expansion. Unless Dragonblight turns out to be the best thing since sliced bread, or Ashes of Creation actually comes out before 2036.
I wasn't paying attention, I got left away.
Both are very unlikely events, in my humble opinion. Before we finish, guys, be sure to check out my second channel. I have Oblivion mod lists over there, and I have a little video about how you can actually play Fable 2 on
Yeah,
your PC.
go check out
In the future, I'm
MetaGoblin.
gonna
He
make
made this video.
retrospective long review videos of some of my favourite games that are not related to World of Warcraft.
I thought
so
it was pretty good.
please subscribe if you're interested in that kind of thing. It really helps out and I want to get to 1,000 subs. Anyway, my name is MetaGoblin. Until the next video, ciao.
Yeah, that video was made by MetaGoblin. Go check him out. I agree with some of the points he made. Some of them don't really apply to me or my server, so I'm not too worried about it.